We are live. And if you're catching this on the rewatch, we will sit here and my fucking hair's a mess, motherfucker. I don't know what. We will bullshit a little bit, I guess, until somebody shows up. Make sure you watch my Gary's Grail's Christmas present opening on my channel. And also make sure that you check out... Oh, there's Zombie Hunter. What's happening, brother? You doing all right? We're just lacking off, seeing if anybody is up and about. Just kind of hanging out. Zombie, are you watching the Skeleton Crew? I couldn't think of the fucking name there for a second. Have you been watching that as a Star Wars? Oh, just having dinner. Right on. Do they have supper in your country or just dinner? Breakfast, lunch, and dinner? Or do you have also supper? Do they say that where you're from? And is it different than dinner? Because I was raised that supper could be a different meal for whatever reason. At least part of my family thinks that. Dinner. It's what's for dinner. What's for dinner over there? Kangaroo meat? We say dinner mainly. Right on. Yeah, in the South of America, you might have supper, which is, for whatever reason, different than dinner. So, but no, we're just kind of lacking around. I just uploaded 2 videos to the channel. So later on, whenever we're off live or whatever, check those out. I had a unboxing some Christmas presents from Gary's Grails. And we also just did a Skeleton Crew episode 3 review, which definitely go watch it. Definitely go watch it if, whatever. I feel there's quite a few people that are, hey, what's going on, Sir John? Good to see you. There's definitely some people on the YouTubes who have told me, hey, I appreciate you reviewing the Skeleton Crew because I'm not going to fucking watch it. So I'm doing my part. I'm doing the heavy lifting so you don't have to. So, but no, we're just lacking off, It is a weeknight, obviously. And so, I'm sure there will be quite a few people here. There will be quite a few people we know who will not be here. Good morning. Here it is evening. I believe it's about 10:30 in the PM here in the South of America. It's dinner time where Zombie's at. Zombie is having dinner. And I'm not sure what part of the country John's in, but I know he is in America. So we're at least somewhere close to the same shit. Good morning, Palps. It's good to see you, young man. Have you been, I know you've been doing your art, which is magnificent. St. Louis, old St. Louis. I drove through St. Louis a couple times. I used to work in southern Iowa. I managed a ranch there. And the best people in Iowa are from Missouri, it seemed like. I mean, if you went in North Iowa, they weren't so bad. But southern Iowa's got some weird motherfuckers in it, man. Bjorn, Shamblock, my friend. We're just shooting the shit. We're just shooting the shit. 5 a.m. where Palp is at. Right arm. Getting ready to go to work. Or 5 a.m. I very rarely see 5 a.m. In the morning unless I've stayed up all night. I don't know what the deal is. I've become a night owl in my not old age, but, old enough for my balls to sag enough to sit on. Got a couple gray hairs on the nutsack, Oh, Ewok Customs, right on. I definitely want to see those. There's a guy on Instagram that was making life-size Ewoks. That's awesome, Bjorn. I don't know why I thought for some reason that was Palps. My bad. That's obviously Bjorn. But there was a guy on Instagram who was making life-size Ewoks, and like those motherfuckers are pretty cool. I could definitely see having some. I was never part of the anti-Ewok club. I don't know what the deal is. Darth Wizzy Wiz, the most dangerous man in Canada. How are you, sir? I hope you're doing well. We're just for those of you who did watch my Meth Head Care Bears, yeah, dangerous. I feel like Ewoks are a bit more dangerous than Meth Heads. Um, yeah, I love Ewoks too. I love Ewoks too. Darth Wizzy Wiz, I know I said this, but we'll say it again. Most dangerous man in Canada, right there. Yeah, I always thought Ewoks were cool because it always conjured up like Little Bighorn, like kind of vibes to me, like. And like Ewoks got to be fucking tough to live on that planet, especially after you watched. Oh man, what was the first Ewok movie? Was it Ewok Adventure? And the second one I think was Battle of Endor. Hey guys in the chat, what about an Ewok on meth? That would be fucking super dangerous. That would be super. If I was the rebellion, like if I was Han Solo, definitely would have been like, hey, let me get your most badass Ewoks. Caravan of Courage. Why would I think it was Adventures of the Ewoks? I don't know what the fuck where I got that from. Yeah, Caravan of Courage, and then that's the first one, right? Because they rode those little horses with the little domes on them. Those were cool. I don't think we saw any. Did we see blurgs in that one, or just in the second one? I think we did see 2 blurgs in that movie, didn't we? I know we saw blurgs in the second one. That's what those bad guys rode, right? They had blurgs. Yeah, definitely like a small platoon of Ewoks, fucking mainline some fucking meth in that mother. Oh, that was the cartoon. Yeah, my bad. Yeah, do some fucking get some fucking Ewoks, do some fucking hot rails of fucking meth, give them some fucking stone axes, and just fucking send them out there into the fucking shit. Get them some fucking stormtroopers. Yeah, fuck yeah, that'd be some dangerous fucking shit. That would be some dangerous shit. I don't know if the military does that too much now, but certainly up until Vietnam, we were doing that too in the U.S. military. Not to everybody, but and like the Philippine insurrection, we were definitely. They weren't necessarily on meth, but they were on some sort of whatever beetle nut or something. Dangerous fuckers. The Philippine insurrection is what made the U.S. military say, hey, the 38 Special works pretty good in America with normal people, but we need something with a little more oomph. Right? A little more oomph. Yeah, blurgs are in the Battle of Endor. And those lizard guys, it seems like that we saw some. Well, like the pirate guy who's in Skeleton Crew, who was also in Mando, the one who like got away. Is that not the same? What? Is that not the same alien? There's so much shit going on now that, Thai sticks. Well, I don't know if they were on Thai sticks. I mean, I've been to Thailand, and those Thai sticks I had in Thailand were definitely not making you violent or. But yeah, whoever we were fighting in the Philippine insurrection, the Filipinos, and I think they had like some Maori mercenaries. I couldn't think of the. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, is that in reference to the blur comment with that guy? And then also like in Mandalorian when he was him and Cara Dune, when they were helping those like shrimp farmers. It seemed like there was a couple aliens in that were looked like those same, for lack of a better term, like kind of lizardy, leather-faced guys from the Battle of Endor. Yeah, yeah, super cool. Yeah, yeah, just to mellow you out. Yeah, definitely not what you want to be giving your troops before the shit hits the fan. Oh, dang. I just noticed that we have 0 people in here now, so somebody more interesting must be on than me. But hey, so look, Gary sent me this. This is the Captain Brutus, Pirate Captain Brutus Sivrak. I'm here. What's up, zombie? I thought we would open this. Why not? This package, and he, even when he found it, he was like, look, the package is a little messed up. And I said, that's okay, because I want to get a couple to open. Hey, Palps, right on. I want to get a couple to open, and then I definitely want to get at least one nice in box to hang up here with Mr. Sivrak. So, how about that? Bam. And again, man, the red. I would be much more excited about this character if he didn't have the red glowing eyes, because I think that, you know, somebody in the production just confused. And I keep saying this, and I feel like I'm probably the only person who's outraged about it, but, you know, Ariel Sharos and Lak Chat are different fucking people. So I feel like the red glowing eyes are, you know, I think somebody fucked up. And so that's the only thing about this character that makes me just a little bit like, you motherfuckers, like, you were so close to doing something cool, and then you fucked it up. And then you fucked it up. Yeah, right on. Hopefully they make a 3/7 of Captain Brutus. I saw somebody, I think that they not already made that Jude Law character as a 375? I might have made that up. But certainly they will. Certainly they will. But I think it'd be neat to open this guy and see the art she blows. Yeah, this guy and Lak Chat are supposed to be the same species, but Ariel Sharos with the red glowing eyes from the Cantina is not the same species as Lak. He is a Darfel, and they are different species, and they look different. And I might be misunderstanding when you say they're the same species, but yeah, this guy is supposed to be a Shavastine, which is the same as Lak. Oh, they can identify as whatever they want. Well, even if he identifies, he can't make his eyes fucking glow red, you know? But I've just been a Lak supporter for many years, and for many years people have, you know, shown me Ariel Sharos and said, oh, you know, this is the same. And he's not. As far as they never have been, from like the very first backstories that I can find, the first, which, um, you know, probably the late 80s, early 90s when they had some behind the scenes, you know, behind the scene books and like describing what's going on and who's who. But yeah, and this guy kind of has the ears of Ariel Sharos also. So, but let's check it out. The, I don't know, I'm not disappointed. Pardon the noise. Some people on their channels are like, ooh, listen to this, but I fucking hate it. We may not take out. I do not like the pirate thing. Like, pirates are fine, but I don't know why the pirates in Star Wars are gonna fucking talk like pirates. I don't understand that. It seems unnecessary. Seems unnecessary. I don't like it. And there's a lot of aliens that speak. Maybe he's a crossbreed. Maybe. I mean, I guess we can justify, and I'm not saying this rudely because I love you, pals, but like, I guess we can justify their fuck up however we want to. But this guy's supposed to be a Shavastine Wolfman, you know? But yeah, there's too many aliens that are speaking basic in this show. And that's definitely one of my main complaints. And it's been a complaint probably throughout all of modern Disney Star Wars, right? Like that worm thing and Solo was talking, you know, English and stuff. So I don't know. I'm immediately looking at like how you can take what's attached and what can come off of this guy. But it's a cool thing. Here's a pretty cool look. He's got like he has a very, like he's gonna howl at the moon. I don't know why that doesn't want to focus. Maybe if I get over here. Whoa. I don't know. But y'all probably have seen this guy. It looks like you can, I think you'll have to maybe cut it. You could shimmy that down, but I think you can take this dress off fairly easy. And this chest piece, you know, like it looks like, yeah, that can all come off. But sometimes when they have extra shit like that, the neck is weird underneath it, you know? Yeah, well, that's what I've been saying. That's what I've been saying. And I see that a lot on fucking... And I think maybe it's mostly with the Lak Ariel Sharos, but like, yeah, there's a lot of fucking just like, they're so close to making something. It's like these people, they're not as big as fans as we are, or they weren't fucking there. They haven't been Star Wars fans as long as us, right? So like maybe their first introduction is the special editions, or God forbid their first introduction is like the fucking Phantom Menace or whatever. You know, we're definitely with the old head crowd here, I would say. But yeah, so thanks to Gary for finding this, because I'm not getting shit in my stores. And I think I've said this on a couple videos, but like, if it wasn't for Figure Fever, Greg, like I have never seen Obi-Wan Kenobi figures, right? And he got me the Vader from that line, which is, I still haven't opened it, but I think I would like to. But like that fucking Vader is badass, son. Like he's got the cape is like underneath the armor and it's got silver paint. That is fucking, and that's not exactly what Vader always looked like. But I'll have to admit, whoever designed that, like, that is a fucking good looking Vader, you know? So I'm not like opposed to anything that's not completely traditional, as long as it's good. And I think that's what most of us want to see, right? Like it doesn't have to be an exact copy of the original trilogy, and it doesn't have to be identical, but it needs to be good and it needs to flow. I think that was you know, even like the Acolyte, you know, like there's plenty of people who didn't like it because of political reasons. But the real fans, generally it was not liked because it was fucking shit. Like it was poorly done. And like even like me and Left Coast Rick can agree with that, like on Ahsoka, you know? Like you got Thrawn, You have like the Balin Skull character was fucking cool, but just overall it was poorly done. It's poorly done and not entertaining. And I've tried to watch. The only thing I've never watched a second time is the sequel, Ray trilogy. Right? I've never gone back and watched those, and I have not rewatched Acolyte. But I went back and like I've rewatched Kenobi, and the second time, it definitely like I fucking rolled my eyes. I think a lot more the second time than the first time, because there is like the first time you watch it, there's still like this anticipation of it being cool, and then Ahsoka, fuck man, like I couldn't like I fucking 5 minutes. 5 minutes, and I was like, fuck. That's not a thumbs up. That's a me turning the remote control off. I'm like, fuck, man, this sucks. Boop, I turn it off. Go out about my day, and then come back later and be like, well, you know, yeah, fucking A. I agree with you. The awful. The one part, I will have to say, a lot of people didn't like the Canto Bite scene, and the speech, the fucking communist fucking speech that's given ruins that. But if you put that prick on fucking mute and you just look, I did enjoy like the background characters, and it did kind of give a cantina vibe, and so like a lot of people didn't like that scene, but I really think it was the fucking like pro-communist fucking speech which ruined it. Because like I said, you put that fucker on mute and you just enjoy the background characters and the different aliens. Now there was a lot of human aliens, but like there were motherfuckers with shit on their faces. There was like Lobot shit going on, and like that was I didn't mind that, but you have to watch that on mute. You had to watch that on fucking mute. Also, the what was that, Solo, when they got on the and I can never remember the yacht. Jabba had a sail barge, but then that what was his fucking name? Dryden Voss, with the fucking things on his face. He had some sort. I think they called it a whatever yacht. But cool scene, a lot of shit going on in the background, a lot of different things that you've never seen in Star Wars. That's the other thing too, like when we watched Andor season 1, which I think is the fucking greatest modern Star Wars thing done, but there was no OT aliens, and there really wasn't very many aliens at all anyway. And then kind of the same thing with Ahsoka. There was not a lot of OT type aliens, and that was a problem. But then I remember, like Solo, there was very few OT aliens, but the shit they gave us was interesting. And so, like, when I saw Solo, like, I never thought, oh, well, these aliens or these creature beings are bullshit, except that worm thing in the beginning. I thought that was pretty fucking lame. The worm thing I think that was ridiculous. And like, how can so like Jabba, right? Like Jabba is not confined to his palace. Like he can move by himself. He can leave. He can go places. He's from a species of gangsters that control large swaths of space. But like, how would that fucking worm from Solo come into power? Right? Like, it lives in this fucking pond, in this derelict fucking warehouse. And like, what possibly keeps people loyal to it? Like, what power does it have? Like, and even if it's from a mafioso family of worms, that are all across the galaxy. Like how do they have fucking power, right? Like there's nothing they can do. Why would a person become loyal to them and report to them and do their bidding, where there would be no fear of retribution from the fucking worm, right? The fucking worm thing can't do anything, you know. um just like, why would it? Whereas, like, we've learned that, like, a younger Hutt species can be fair. There was that Hutt Jedi, and, like, apparently they're pretty fucking badass if they want to be. Jabba may have been past his prime in Return of the Jedi, and we don't see that. But there's, like, an established... what's that called? You know, not faction, but, I mean, faction would work, but there's an established... what's the word for organized crime? Syndicate. There you go. There's an established syndicate that, when it gets down to it, you know, if you fuck with a goddamn, hey, what's up, Mr. Muzza? Let's see what Mr. Muzza says. G'day, Lak, mate. Just dropping in with a quick hello. I haven't watched episode 3, so I'll watch this back later. Yeah, have a great day. Watch episode 3. There will be a on my channel is like an actual review. We may not get too much into it on this one. The one thing, since whoever's still here, the one thing I forgot to mention in my review, which I don't know if it bothered me, but they went to that, and I don't think this will spoil it, Muzza, if you're still here, but the moon that they went to, I don't know how that motherfucker has an atmosphere. Like, it was like a moon, like our moon. And it obviously had an atmosphere because they landed their ship and they got off and they were walking fucking around. But I don't know how you can have a planet. I don't know how you can have a planet that looks like our moon, that has no vegetation and no shit on it, but it has an atmosphere, right? Like, because that's what separates the fucking, like, that's why Earth is Earth and everything else is fucking uninhabitable. Whatever atmosphere it has is not conducive. So we're either all of those children and the Jude Law character aren't humans that breathe oxygen, or for some reason that moon had a fucking atmosphere and had gravity, and that was weird. That was kind of weird. Take care, Muzza. It was good to see you. Yeah, they're the OG skeleton crew. Yeah, that's right. That's right. And you remember even back before there was, and like even when I was young, before the special editions came out, like I watched the originals. And of course, it wasn't until, like, I didn't have to wait between Star Wars and Empire Strikes Back and Jedi, because they were all pretty much out by the time I came around. But like immediately, you're like, oh, didn't Boba Fett burn them up? You know, because even before we knew he had a flamethrower, there were like no disintegrations. And you could have at least thought that must be the closest thing to disintegration, right? Like, because we never saw a stormtrooper with a flamethrower. Of course, now in Mando, was that Mando season, whatever, they have the stormtrooper with the flamethrower. But, you know, I kind of always thought that was not necessarily the stormtroopers that burned old Uncle Owen and Aunt Beru up. I'm just kind of checking this guy out. It would be... I think this figure would look kind of cool taking a bunch of this vinyl plastic goods off. But I wonder... It's just like a lot of the GI Joes, like some of the GI Joe classifieds, you can boil them and you can kind of wiggle their belts and shit off over their hips. But there's a few of them where you just can't do it, so you just go in there and fucking cut that shit, you know? But, I don't know. But this guy's definitely harkens a little bit, except for the elbows. He does remind me a lot more of a G.I. Joe classified figure than some of the other Black series that we've gotten before this. But that, I don't know, that's just me. But, yeah, so there's another big difference, too, between these guys, right? Like, I don't know if you can, well, the glare is too much. But I think we all kind of know that Lak, at least in his original figure, right? He has like an actual like dog leg leg. And he has big giant wolf feet. There's a short on my channel that goes back to the Moose Suit days where I talk about, you know, why do aliens have boots? You know, why would the aliens have boots? They have feet. They have feet, you know, like Bosk isn't wearing boots. Hammerhead never wore boots, at least from the original figure. Chewbacca's not wearing fucking boots, right? So, yeah, I don't know. And then what was that? I can't fucking think of his name now, but the Jedi, the Jedi Shavasine Wolfman from the Clone Wars. He had legs like that, and he has a figure which I have yet to procure in the collection. Which, of course, when I started being a Lak fan, there was only Lak, and then when the Clone Wars came out, that was the next Wolfman, you know. Also, what's the rabbit's name? The Green Rabbit, Jax. I think in the comics, Jax did not have boots. He had big green feet. But then the figure comes out, that Black Series figure, and he has boots. So that's kind of a... And obviously the toy company is just doing that so they don't have to, you know, make new molds or whatever. But that is a little bit of a letdown with this character. Man, part of me wants to take this off. I wonder if a guy can... Oh, look at this. Look at that. Okay. So this skirt comes off really easy. It is barely glued to the belt. At least part of it is. But I see. But the second piece is attached. But definitely looks cooler without that. Maybe we should do a bit of customizing while we're here, huh? Hold the phone. Let me go find a very small, sharp pair of scissors, and we'll see what we can do with this. Yeah, very cool. Alright, sorry for the dead air. Sorry for the dead air there, ladies and gentlemen. Probably just gentlemen. So that one piece came off fairly easy. You can see that little black line right there. But this other piece is attached to the holster, which if we can keep the belt with the holsters on it, that would be ideal. So let's try to cut this. I do want to get a couple of these. Again, thanks to Gary for finding this, because there's so much stuff I have never seen in my stores. It's ridiculous. And like, I don't know if we're just not getting stuff, or maybe there's a large group of collectors who are just beating me to the punch. Because, I kind of have a hard time. Oh, yeah, that was pretty easy. Look at that. I'll take this little piece off here. Oh, yeah. Much better. Much better looking. Definitely. So now, yeah, look, now we've got that cape off. That is the bomb. That is a much more intimidating. Because what's weird, and it's hard to tell in the show, but there's a couple times in the show where it looks like he's wearing like a trench coat, which is kind of cool. But the figure is definitely just like has a skirt on. And it in no way, appears to be like a coat of any kind. Now I'm wondering what else. I'm sorry if y'all can't. I'm just trying to see what's attached to what here. These feather pauldrons. This is a cool vest thing he's wearing. But it would probably be cooler on a different figure. But let's just see. Let's see, you can clip it there. Y'all want to see what's underneath this? I do. And then the only thing you got to worry about, which I don't like, is these like pirate cuff. These pirate cuffs. But he has a black shirt on, so we could probably just change his shirt. Let's go ahead and take this off. So let's see, should we cut it? How should we cut that? The one side is different. They're not than the other side, so let's just make one cut here without scratching the paint on the figure. Okay. I get it all the way, okay. And then let's see. I'm trying to figure out how to cut it where it can still be used on a different figure, So maybe just directly under the arm, and we can probably scab it back together. Instead of doing it on the edge, we'd do it under the... So if there's a seam that we end up using, if we end up making a seam when we put it back on somebody else, it will be under the arm. Okay, and then I guess we need to pop the head off, which hopefully we can do without hurting anything. Should we get some hot water? Perhaps. Pardon me, won't you? Oh, don't kick the goddamn camera. All right, we're back. So we got a cup more. Here's a lovely cup that my wife had made for our wedding. Isn't that lovely? All these pictures were done in Alaska. So we got some super hot water in there. Hey, Gilster. Good to see you, my friend. How are you? Long time no see. We have heard. We have heard. Okay, bam. Okay, so we got that off. Now let's go ahead and put it back on. Nice. Yeah, so see, yeah. His neck and shoulders. He definitely has like a skinny body. Ooh. But yeah, that still looks better than what was going on. And his head and neck, it's like a double ball. But yeah, that still looks pretty cool. Yeah, I like the black shirt. And I wonder if I have, trying to think, I might have a G.I. Joe figure that has black long sleeves on that we could switch these arms with. But yeah, there you go. Or we can find at least a better. I did not like the way this looked. I really didn't. Definitely, this is very much Battle of Endor. Like those guys wore some weird outfits. But yeah, I do like the way this is looking. He's definitely got some weird arms going on here, though. Like they have the butterfly. But yeah, that definitely looks cool. So maybe we can. There's a couple werewolf figures of different lines. And, that has like the correct Lak Chat legs and stuff. So maybe we could find some of those. And, try to put this head on some of those bodies. Or at least take some of the parts and put on here. But yeah, strange construction, it seems like. But still, very cool. Yeah, it seems like it's a cool character. His head and neck, which I was worried about, they did it disproportionately, it looks like, to, they'd made it disproportionate, so this would take up the what do you call it? The bulk. But yeah, this guy looks pretty good. Kind of if you give him a little downward look to kind of hide that googly long neck. But yeah, this is a much more formidable looking being. Gilster, we were talking about, good to see you, sir. We were talking about how, and I know you're not watching Skeleton Crew, but there's just so many fucking aliens who are speaking basic. And it's a real downer. It's a real fucking downer. And there was I mentioned this in my review, but y'all go back and watch the review at some point. But there's a part in the show where the Jude Law character comes across a fellow pirate who's an Ishatib. And the Ishatib guy, he's like speaking basic, and he has to fucking talk like a fucking pirate, which I don't understand. Like, that makes no sense, right? Like, just the idea that all these guys talk the same because they're pirates, like like the pirates that we as human beings on Earth, right? Like, even the real pirates, like, not all of them would have talked like that, right? Because there's French pirates, and there's Portuguese pirates, and there's fucking Spanish pirates. And then there was a few English-speaking pirates who spoke the king's English or the queen's English. It would have been the king's English, I guess. And that's where, like, that type of speaking, like Jack Sparrow and his crew or whatever, like, that comes from their culture and their race and their country of origin, right? So why would fucking pirates in Star Wars, who are all different fucking species, who weren't born into piratedom, why would they fucking speak the same? Why would they all go, "Yar, well there she blows on the month of May," and like, why would they fucking talk like that, dude? Like, why would they talk like that? It makes no fucking sense at all. And I know there's people out there that are like, "Oh, I like that," and that's cool, but I just, like, OT Star Wars, in the sense I'm speaking of, was much more realistic, right? Like, Lucas and the crew, like, went out of their way. Yeah, ask Disney. Well, it's, I mean, it's just poor. It's just like, it's childish, it's moronic, and it's just like they have no original thought. Like, for God's sakes, in this third episode, this character that the Jude Law character meets is like, "Oh, it's Crimson Jack," and like, why the fuck does his name have to be fucking Jack, right? Like, what the fuck, dude? It's just so, I don't know. I just find it to be moronic. I really do. And it just makes no fucking sense. But the Jude Law character, he runs into this Isha Tib, and they have a very short conversation. And the show could have benefited from the Isha Tib character speaking a native language of his own and us not knowing what he said, because the conversation was very minimalistic. Like, the Jude Law character is doing something, and the Isha Tib character comes in and says, "Oh, what's going on, Captain? How'd you get out of the brig?" And he goes, "Well, I let myself out, but don't tell anybody." But it's like, there's a whole conversation that did not need to fucking happen. It could have been played more like Chewie and Han talking, or like, you don't need to know. You do not need to know what some of these characters are saying, because the situation dictates the conversation, right? And I compare it to, like, Bob Newhart's. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the Jude Law character gets called Crimson Jack. It's like, you fucking talk about phoning it in, fucking bullshit. Like, I don't like that fucking shit. But, like, y'all remember Bob Newhart when he used to do his bit on the phone? And, like, you never, right? That you never knew what the person's saying on the phone, but you know what they're saying, because Bob Newhart, right? Like, there was a bit where, like, he's calling his wife, and his wife won't let him talk. Like, he's late and he's trying to explain, and he's like, "Yeah, well, honey, I just wanted to." Well, that's what I'm trying to. No, I know that, but I'm just trying to explain. Okay, right? And, like, you don't have to know what the other person's saying. It has its own value. And when you all go watch episode 3, just keep that in mind. Or if you have seen it, keep it in mind when he's talking to that Isha Tib. There's no dialogue there that's necessary. The Isha Tib character could have spoken something without even subtitles. And the Jude Law character could have answered him. "Well, I broke out of the brig myself." "Well, I know that you're," and then the Isha Tib character says something in Alien. He says, "Well, I know you're a good friend of mine and you won't say anything." And then the guy's like, "Well, maybe we should call the fucking guys anyway," right? But like that can all be imparted through acting, and so it's just strange. It's just strange. And the pirate accents are fucking unnecessary. Let me see it. Lars Whitvack. Yeah. I can't remember what Jude Law, his character is billed as whatever, Jodan Nanana or something, which is somewhat Star Warsy. But then he goes, that's what he tells the kids his name is. And I think some of the other characters call him, Captain Jodan or whatever, like Jodan Baker, whatever the fuck. But then they meet this new character, and she's like, "Oh, yar, it be Captain Jack." And like again, why do space pirates from different species, like why would they talk the same? Like when you become a pirate, you have to talk like that? Like that just makes it's fucking moronic, And I would say it's childish, but I'm pretty sure we are watching a show for kids, so that might be not the best critique, because like, oh, that's childish, and it's like, well, it is Muppet Babies 1984. It's for children. You go, wow, okay, good fucking point. But yeah, right on, man. Brutus the Barber Beefcake, baby. And put that guy down there like that. But anyway, yeah, if you get the Brutus, these skirts from the bottom come off real easy. And I would definitely recommend doing that just because, I don't know, they definitely limit articulation. And which may not be a huge problem for a lot of people, but. And if you take his vest off, it goes back on pretty easily. Now you do have to cut it. But when you get it back on, it does lay down if you cut it right in the seam under his arm. So it's not really noticeable that it's been done. So for the time being, I'll probably leave this top part on him, but definitely cooler without the skirt thing. I didn't like that. But yeah, still cool. He's a Shavastine Wolfman, and I am the president and CEO of Star Wars Wolfman Incorporated, the OG Star Wars Wolfman. So, you got to represent in some capacity. I still need to find that Clone Wars. The Clone Wars. I think his name was like Waren Wolfen or something, right? Wasn't the Jedi Shavastine Wolfman? Like his name was Waren Wolfen or some shit. And they never made a 6-inch figure of that. If they ever did, which they won't, that would be the fucking bee's fucking knees. I'm just reading the back of this. Yeah, the back of this has nothing to do with Brutus. It's really just kind of like a small synopsis of the show. There's no like character information. So yet another miss on Hasbro's. But maybe they don't have any information to talk about them. You know what I mean? Like, but they could say, oh, Captain Brutus, Shavastine pirate captain, has been marauding the outer rim for many years. I mean, it would really just take a fucking because this guy already has like a Wikipedia entry, right? So that's all it would fucking take, would be a quick fucking Wikipedia search, So I don't know. I expect more. I feel like maybe I was just raised on higher quality shit. Um, which I think Gilster still need a Weequay from Hasbro. Yet, did they not do a Black Series Weequay yet? I'm trying to think. I know they did like a TVC. Um, but yeah, I don't know. I think Gilster understands me when I say like we were just raised on higher quality shit. You know what I mean? And like just higher quality shit. And so you expect things to have some sort of cognitive, trail that you can follow. And man, like just Disney Star Wars does not fucking do that, man. Whereas, and people say, oh, it's fantasy, it's this and that. But like, man, the OT, like and I can't remember but like the languages, right? Like the Ewok language is derived from an actual language. The Jawa's language is derived from an actual language. And like it has the proper construction where it could actually be learned, right? And it could actually be taught, and you could the consonants and the rules of the consonants and the vowels and all that shit, like it has proper language structure, so it can actually be a real fucking language, right? And I believe Huttese is also like that. And even when Boosh is talking, Boosh, when Leia is playing, like they had linguistics experts making up a language, but it's actually like a language that can be learned, can be taught. You can put the rules of it in a book and teach it to somebody just like you're teaching high school students French or fucking Spanish. And so there is a semblance of realism, you know? And it's just like, whoever's doing this shit today, they just don't have any motivation to like actually put that much work into their work. I'm trying to figure out what gun his one hand here is extremely small for this one gun. So if you do display this guy and you want his one hand, once you put one of the larger guns in his left hand, you may not be able to put some of these other ones. You may not be able to put some of these other ones in that hand. I'm just, letting you know that. And yeah, I don't like the pirate. Like, I don't like the pirate looking guns in the show. Yeah, Nine Nub had a real language too. Yeah, exactly. Still need a Weequay figure. I agree. Yeah, and so did the Jawas, and I think the Ewoks, and I even think Huttese, and then like Lap T Nick, which I can't remember, is Lap T Nick sung in Huttese? I can't remember, but all of those things are translatable because they were built by a linguistics expert, and like just like Klingon, right? Like Klingon is an actual, put together not phonetically, but put together by a linguistics expert where it is teachable, right? Like you could write a fucking book or read a book on how to speak Huttese and you could do it, and then like, even if these modern Disney Star Wars guys aren't going to do that, like at least like do something. There's so many languages already invented by Lucas that do exist, and there's so few aliens that are speaking in the new Disney Star Wars. Like, Have them speak Huttese. Have them fucking speak Jawa. Have them fucking speak Klingon, for Christ's sakes. Yeah, are you talking about the Weequay? Yeah, Black Series has not made a Weequay, but I thought TVC had one. Or maybe it was pre-TVC, right? Remember there was like that Jabba, they had that 3-pack of Jabba's guards. I thought maybe there was a Weequay before that, but I could be totally wrong. Darth Wizzy Wiz is probably the expert in the chat that may be aware of, and only one Kenobi's not here, but he would obviously be a good one to ask also, because he has them all. He has them all. Yeah, this guy looks, I think he looks better with the top vest on than without it. Oh, Neen Num. Yeah. Oh, Black Series didn't make a 9 nub. 9? 9 nub? Yeah, his name, I guess, there was debate on if you said 9, though it was spelled like that. And then, of course, they came out with 10 nub, which harkens the idea that, oh, I guess we do pronounce it 9. 9! And then their dad's name was Yavul. Herr Capitan. Yeah, this guy looks pretty cool, man. I do need to up my Black Series game. I have one shelf that I built over there in haste to put Christmas stuff on, but it is very close to some Star Wars stuff, so at some point I may turn the Christmas shelf into a figure shelf, but I have to admit I've been thinking about getting the TVC Jabba's, well, it would be the Book of Boba Fett TVC Jabba's Palace. But then, I'm gonna totally put Lak Sivrak on the throne, and then put all of our cool favorite characters in the, and I almost got that fucking cantina, you guys. I had the money. I was working down with my buddy Dylan, and I had the money, and I fucking had my hand on the fucking button, and I was like, am I gonna buy this motherfucker? And then I don't know, but I was just like, nah, I'm not fucking buying this. I was like, I'm not. And but then I realized, man, get the Book of Boba Fett Jabba's Palace, because I really, at the end of the day, I think it has more displayability. I think a lot more shit can happen in Jabba's throne room than the cantina. I don't know. So I don't know. I just but Gary, right on. If y'all have not seen, I know probably I've seen comments from most of y'all already on my Gary's sent me a box and this was in it, but I'm not going to show you the rest of the awesome things because you need to go watch that video and make sure you're watching Gary on Saturdays, man, because he has some fun toy hunts. Drop of the week. I'm always excited about the drop of the week. But thank you, Gary, if you are watching this later. Gilster, I had a box for you, my friend, and it went out in the post today. And so I could send you the tracking, but I could just as easily fucking just look at the tracking myself and say, hey, that shit's going to be there on Thursday or whatever. So I hope you still live in the same place. And I packed that box a month ago, and I almost don't remember what's in it. But I do remember there's one thing in it that I think it's gonna thump your magic twanger, son. I think you're gonna look at it and you go, holy fuck, where did you get this? And I'm gonna say, well, Wolfman has his ways. So anyway, I'm trying not to go. I ate way too much fucking Mexican food. And I cannot go to bed right now, or I'll be fucking, it'll just be fucking pointless. So, but what else has been going on? Hey, there's no rush. And I know what man, I know a lot of us in this community We have a lot in common. We like a lot of the same stuff. But the one thing that we all have in common is it takes a fucking year to send a fucking box. Brett at the Jedi Cantina, I almost said Collecting with Cool, but his channel is now the Jedi Cantina, and tomorrow it might be a different fucking name. So, yeah, the motherfucker keeps you on your toes, right? But Brett is probably the best at sending boxes. If he says, hey, I got a box for you, da 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 da, like that fucking shit is there within that month. It might be a couple weeks, but that shit. But the rest of us, whether you're Vern or Rum or me or Gilster, a lot of the rest of us are like, I have a box, but it might take a year to fucking send. And you know who was the, and I'm saying was because he's fucking missing and gone, but you know who was the king of that was fucking Mark at Blue Harvest, you know? And, but I don't know, Rum might be up there too. Like, does you remember when Super John and G-Force and, I think Vern, and but a couple other people are like, oh, we got boxes from, you know, Rum that he was telling us about 2 fucking years ago. But that's definitely one thing we all. Uh, oh, Darth Wizzy Wiz is really quick on sending. He sent me this TVC right here, this TVC Stormtrooper, and that shit was fucking like that, and it came from Canada, so he shipped it real quick. But yeah, the majority of us takes a while. So Gilster, no rush, man. No rush at all. It's like a fine wine, you know. It all gets sweeter with age. And most of us pack stuff so well that like even if you have a card, you know, like nobody hardly ever gets anything like, oh, the card got bent because we're all taking precautions to like make sure the card is flat and da 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 da. You know, if it's something that we think our friends are going to keep on card, you know. Which I was never like a carded guy, and then I don't know what happened. Kind of started with these Dick Tracy things, these Dick Tracy because the cards are really fucking cool, and they're fairly easy to get, you know. And so I have some loose ones, right? You probably can't see them, but right here there's some loose Dick Tracys, but they're so easy to get, and like I was just getting 2 of every one right off the bat. And we had a good series going where I was opening the Dick Tracy figures, and then I was doing a little bit of history on the character, but I was mostly doing on the actor because that was the cool thing. At least for me, when I was young, that was the cool thing about the old Warren Beatty Dick Tracy movie was just the fucking plethora of fucking cool actors, you know? And, I mean, man, Henry Silva and fucking R.G. Armstrong, and like most people know who Henry Silva is, but I'm pretty sure only Gilster, there's only 6 of us, it looks like, here in the chat, but I know Gilster knows who R.G. Armstrong is. And, like, Kat, her favorite John Wayne movie, if I remember correctly, is El Dorado. And R.G. Armstrong plays I wouldn't say substantial role, but you know, if I like somebody like Kat or somebody who is aware of El Dorado, that's how I would explain to them. You know, like you remember the father of the family that John Wayne was helping, you know, against the bad guys who were trying to take their farm. Like that's R.G. Armstrong, and then people would go, "Oh, I know that guy." And of course, Gilster knows R.G. Armstrong was Bob. What the fuck was his last name? He was a real person. But in Pat Garrett and Billy the Kid, when Pat Garrett is locked up and he gets out and he kills Bell, and then he gets Bob. What the fuck was Bob's last name? Gilster? Is that was a real historical, like that actually happened, right? Billy the Kid was in the Lincoln town, in the jail, and he busted out, and he fucking shot Bob with his own shotgun. They dispute I'm not sure where the rumor came from. You think it would be fairly easy to confirm it at the time, right? But, you know, the guy supposedly had his shotgun loaded with dimes, which would be fucking messy as fuck. You know, like if you took apart a shotgun shell and slid in fucking 12 or 16 fucking dimes, whoa. Whoa, fucker. Like, that is gonna make a mess. Um, but anyway, that guy Bob, that character was played by R.G. Armstrong. I'm just rambling. Lack is just rambling about shit. Does anybody want to fucking ramble about anything specific? Put it in the fucking comments. Let me know. I am here for your pleasure, for your listening and watching pleasure. What else do we have to show? Um, oh, um, Sir John, if Sir John is still here, I did get my Weird Fantastic Toy Adventure Secret Santa gift today. I received it today in the mail, and then I sent the person who I drew as the Secret Santa for, I sent theirs off. And I think on the 13th, we're going to have like, I don't know if it's going to be a live stream or if it's just going to be a Google, what do they call it? Like a Google video chat. But we're going to open all those, you know, as one, as a group. So that's really cool. So I got that sitting over there. Got a lot of cool Christmas shit for the Cubs. We got the tree up. And the Cubs helped me decorate the tree the other day. There's, I did have to tell them. I was like, no, give one to Dad so they can, you know, because like at first, like all the ornaments were like at like a 3-foot high mark. And I'm like, no, you got to spread them out. They're too close. They're too close. And I'm like, hey, they're touching. As they were just like getting put on the same limb. But it was cool. The tree is up now, and I think it looks magnificent. It's one of the best trees. I think it's one of the best trees that we've had in this house since I've owned it. It's definite. It may not be exactly the fucking tallest, but if it's not the tallest, it's within 6 inches of being the tallest tree. But it's definitely the biggest, like in volume. So it's pretty cool. It's about 8 feet high, 8.5 feet with the angel on the top, and then man, through the thick part, it's over 4 feet. You know, and then like if you were gonna do like a circumference, like it would probably take 4 people to hand in hand around it. You know, so it's a pretty substantial tree. I've only had a fake tree one time, and I just like felt the judgment from Santa Claus and baby Jesus. Because like I've never had a fake tree my whole life growing up. Real trees are like a must, right? And then my ex, my kid's mom, I don't know, like I don't want to say bad shit, but like, you know, I don't know. For some reason they're like, oh, I don't. They're fake tree people, and like I'm not into that. But when I was a kid, like being my mom and dad in Alaska, my mother and father and I, we would go out in the old Jeep Wagoneer, 86 Jeep Wagoneer, gray with the wooden panel down the side. And it'd be fucking like anywhere between 20 to 35 below, depending on the year. And some of the early days we were there, it would be a little bit colder, but shit's definitely getting warmer. Not for the reasons that fucking some political entities tell you why, but whatever. No, I'm perfectly okay with other people that have fake trees. The only person that ever had a fake tree I was not okay with was my ex. And she was like, well, let's just buy a tree. And I'm like, first of all, we live in a house with 10-foot ceilings, so if we're going to buy a tree, a fake tree, then it needs to fill the fucking Like it needs to, I think your tree should be like this high from your fucking roof. Like you should do the whole thing. But then the issue is like, okay, so you have a 9-foot tree from Lowe's, which fucking cost more than just going and cutting down a fucking tree. But then you got to store that prick. And you have like a fucking goddamn coffin sized box that you're hauling around. I just was never into that. I'm totally okay with other people having fake trees. I'm just saying it is not for me. It's not for me. I like to mix up the sugar water and water it every morning and fucking talk to it. And in Alaska, the cool thing about Alaska being December when you cut your tree down and it's fucking, 20, 30, 35, 37 below, the tree is in hibernation. But when you bring your tree into your house and you start feeding it sugar water, like the tree's like, oh, it's springtime. And the fucker will start sprouting in your fucking house. And you can't really, down here where I'm at now, it's not quite cold enough for these trees to think that it's fucking winter. So, but if you pump them full of sugar water, you can get a little action. But like in Alaska, it doesn't take but like a week, and all of a sudden there's like green fucking buds popping off of the fucking tree, and it's starting to fucking, like it's really cool to see the fucking tree growing, in your fucking house. I just think that was one of my favorite fucking parts. But yeah, getting a Christmas tree was always like, there was a big fucking deal, for me as a kid. And it was, man, we'd go down these logging roads and fucking like, we'd always get stuck because nobody's down there and it's fucking neck deep fucking snow, to a kid. 4 or 5 fucking feet deep of snow, and you're out there in 4 low with the fucking chains on, fucking come along in the fucking Jeep out of it, because back in those days we fucking had a come along. I probably wasn't, it was probably like the first time we ever bought like a chainsaw winch, which are the fucking bomb. Like, fuck, I had to have been like 14 or 15 before we ever got a chainsaw winch. So everything was fucking come along, baby. Fucking come along. And we had a log cabin, and it had super high ceilings. It was made by this company called Wilderness Builder. And they were like one of the first companies that were making like these super swanky log cabins, like ours wasn't 2 stories, but super high. Like the peak of our roof was like 27 feet, which was fucking awesome. So like every year we had like fucking 25-foot fucking trees, and we'd always cut down like a fairly large tree, right? Like a fucking 80-foot tree, because up there, if you're gonna get a perfect tree, the thing is that you cut down like an 80-foot tree, and then once you cut it down, you take the top 20 feet, and then it's fucking perfect. Like that's the trick. That's the trick to a good tree, is you cut down a real big one and then take the top, because the top is always the perfect Christmas shape, And then down here, like in the region I'm at, like there aren't very many fir trees of any kind. Like you get some cedar trees, but they're real scraggly. So you have to go to a tree farm, and then, the problem with a tree farm is like there's nothing over 10 feet. So you have to go, you're kind of limited and a lot of the time I dig around the bottom of the tree like an extra few inches under the dirt so I can cut it as low as I can. But yeah, man, 'tis the season. I like Christmas, man. And when I was a kid, just all of it. I like the winter. Here, there's no fucking winter, which is ridiculous. Like it's raining outside right now. But I sure like that shit as a kid, man. Going out, cutting the fucking tree down, dragging it through the woods, putting it on the roof of the fucking Jeep, strapping it down, and then fucking, you know, you spend fucking 5-6 hours getting in the fucking place, fucking stuck and come alonging and can't find no trees, and you keep driving down the road and you keep getting stuck, then you find one. You find a nice patch, you know, of like real green, nice stuff down in the bottoms by the river. And then you fucking spend a couple hours walking around, you know, looking at fucking nice trees that look full, finally picking one, knocking it down, measuring off what you want, hauling it back, you know, to the fucking truck, and then fucking putting that Jeep in 4 fucking low and fucking. It was an all day thing, man. I mean, you'd be out there fucking 12 hours all fucking day, you know, getting stuck in the fucking snow and just all that shit. It was fucking. I loved it. It was fucking greatest fucking thing ever, man. It's beautiful. Beautiful fucking shit, bro. And that to me is the purpose of the whole real tree thing, you know. You know, like what it's the journey or whatever you want to call it, you know. And it's just like even like hunting animals, you know, like pulling the trigger and dropping a moose. That is obviously what you're there for, but like, hey, and people like when you pull the trigger, that's when the work starts, you know. But you know, but that's why you can go out in the woods and you know, for a week or 10 days or whatever, and if you end up not shooting anything, like it's the whole experience that made it necessary to do it anyway, you know, looking at the fucking stars at night and you know, just being out in the fucking virgin wilderness, you know, and not listening to fucking airplanes or cars or boats or motherfuckers with their goddamn fucking music, fucking bumping, rattling the fucking windows and shit. Like, it was fucking great, man. It was fucking great. Our friend Dylan is on a cruise, or else he would probably be here in the chat right now. But hopefully when he comes back from his cruise, he will drive up here and we're going to go on a deer hunt. I've been scouting a place. I haven't, me and the missus, there's a river near here that has, it's like a wildlife management area and it's public land. And we drove up the side of the river and went to all the different landings. Was it last weekend or maybe the weekend before? I think it was Thanksgiving weekend, right? And so I went and just kind of poked around the woods and looked around and looked at the river just to see what the river was like, and ran into a few hunters, not in the woods while they were hunting, but, you know, ran into some people like at the boat launches and different stuff. Talked to them about, you know, the terrain and what's it like and, you know, how is it out there and that kind of stuff. But we plan on, hopefully, I might not get a chance until after Christmas, but I got my little boat. We don't have a motor, but I'm going to have the missus drop me off, because on the first couple of trips I'm going to go solo because I don't have anybody to go with. But the missus will drop me off with my rifle, and I'm going to try to find some battery packs or something to keep this phone charged so I can make videos and take pictures and content for y'all to enjoy. And then I'm just gonna fucking float down the river and see what I can fucking find, you know. There's a lot of wild hogs out there. There's a lot of deer out there. There's a lot of guys shooting coyotes and stuff. So if it gets too warm, we'll be doing a lot of fucking snake killing probably. So depending on how many we get, some of y'all might be getting some snake hat bands in the future. Of course, I don't know if you have a fucking hat, so you know. But yeah, I'm looking forward to that. I need to go commune with nature. I need to get out there in it. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it too, man. I was out when me and the missus went out. Like I said, we were just driving in the truck, and we, you know, got off of the main road and did all the dirt roads to these landings, and every time I got off in there, and I was just looking around and looking at the deer tracks and different things and looking at the river. And then when we get to the landing, like I'd maybe walk up the side of the creek, whatever, quarter mile or something, just to kind of check it out, see what's going on. And I was fucking excited. Right then. Like, no fucking, just right away. I was like, yeah, fuck yeah, motherfucker. This is badass. So, but I've been studying the map because, shit, man, it's like, fuck, I can't even remember now, but it's like 20,000 fucking acres, and it's like 35 miles of river. And there's a couple parts, being that you don't have a boat motor, like, I'm studying the fucking topography so I can know where the fuck I'm at. And hopefully I can keep this phone charged, because there appears to be service. That's the one thing I was checking, like going to every landing. I was checking to see how much service and the phone was working. And it seemed, though, everything I checked was working great. So you can have the Google map. But there's a couple places where, like, you don't want to fucking get off in the wrong spot, because, like, I'm not going to take a chainsaw. I have a super small boat. And, taking a chainsaw may be beneficial. I've been kind of contemplating whether or not I should take one. Because the only thing I'm worried about is if I float down the wrong channel, or even in the main channel, you get to a fucking log jam or something, portaging around it is going to be a fucking bitch. And I've done that plenty of times. But that's the one instance where you're glad that you don't have a lot of shit, because if all of a sudden you got a fucking, if you got a fucking ice chest with fucking food and a chainsaw and a fucking come along and a fucking this and a fucking giant tent that, then you have all this shit, well, you have to portage around something. You start thinking like, well, do I really fucking need this? Maybe I'll just leave this cocksucker on the fucking bank, and get the fuck out of here. So that's the only trouble with having no boat motor at the moment. But we're working on that. We're going to, maybe by next year, we'll have a full setup with a boat motor and everything. My son is, he's only 4. But by next year, I think he'll be ready to go out and do some, like, serious camping. And then by the time I shot my first big game animal when I was 6. So, and my dad started me shooting a .22 rifle when I was probably 3 or 4. So, it's time to get the boy out there, which I would never take him out without a motor, to be able to get to where, if there was any kind of issue or emergency, or, if the weather got so bad that he was just miserable, then I would just fucking motor back. But this year, we're going to go fucking Daniel Boone style, and we're going to go minimalistic. Probably not, we're going to fucking just, and I told Dylan too, like, it's going to be like Vietnam, baby. We're going to take some water and we're going to take some bullets. And I'm fucking like, and I told him, I said, ain't none of us going to fucking starve in fucking 5 days. But there's fucking squirrels, fucking squirrel season's open. There's plenty of fucking fish in that creek. We got some fishing poles and shit. So, like, we're going to do it fucking Daniel Boone style, like that. Just fucking let the chips fall where they fucking may. So, but I will keep y'all posted on that, before I go. And then while I'm gone, there probably will be a dead period of y'all not seeing me. But when I get back, I hopefully will have a bunch of fucking cool videos, and, depending on what we run into, but we'll definitely do some, like, making some fucking fires and making a camp, and hopefully we'll fucking, have like a video of how you skin and process a deer, and being out there with no being out there with no boat motor and planning on floating, maybe 20 miles between some of these landings, we'll have to process the deer or the hog in the old-fashioned way. Like most people are just like day hunting. They go out in their truck or they go out in their boat. They go to where their stand is that they've put up, and they hunt for the day. And then if they do shoot something, they just drag it back to their boat and fucking bring it home. Most people take it to a fucking processor, which I think is, I don't fucking let other people touch my fucking meat. You know what I mean? I have a fucking issue with that. So I do all my own butchering. But yeah, if we get something out there, we'll have to gut it and skin it and quarter it, and then we'll have to set up like a smoke rack and get everything to case over really well. Because you cannot have meat touching other meat. Um, it'll spoil much faster like that. But if you if you quarter up your deer or whatever you have, and you can hang it and let the air flow over it and put a little smoke on it to keep any kind of flies off of it. If you can let that sit up in the air for 3 days, depending on the temperature, it'll get a good case on it. And then once it cases, then you can stack the meat back in the boat, with it touching, and it won't spoil, But, every couple hours you would still want to kind of rotate it and move it around, even being cased. And there's a lot of bears out there. They are not legal to hunt in any way. So that would be the only other danger of like shooting an animal early in the trip and still needing to float a day or two to where you're going to get picked up. Because when you stop at night to make camp, like, you can't be fucking sleeping with the fucking deer meat and shit. So it needs to be fucking hung up high and away from where the tent is and stuff. But that all is part of the, and hopefully we will have fucking, videos to fucking just kind of go through all that and kind of show how it's done. So I'm looking forward to that too. Because I love sharing those experiences. I used to be a guide, and there's a lot of people that don't, even hunters, especially people who pay for guided hunts. Like, there's a lot of them that don't appreciate that kind of shit. They just want to go out there and fucking kill something, and then like they don't want the meat. They want to fucking hang the fucking horns up in their fucking board of directors fucking office at the bank, whatever the fuck, and which is one of the reasons that got me out of guiding. It was just fucking, it's just accessory to fucking murder. And there was like not a lot of, very rarely would you get a person who like enjoyed being in the wilderness, and like, even though they paid $60,000, like they were super happy with being in the wilderness. And if you didn't get anything, like that was not their top priority. Their top priority was communing with the fucking Great Spirit, and like that's fucking great. That's fucking brilliant shit, So, but yeah, I think that I was gonna maybe go next week, but then I realized that my son has like a Christmas, what do they call it? Not, is it a pageant? They're gonna all get up on stage and sing us a Christmas carol. So he has that going on right in the middle of the week I was going to go. So we will not go that week. And I think it's going to take, about 5 days to do this float trip. So I only like bow hunting. Yeah, I got my bow right there. I used to shoot a lot of bow competitions when I was younger. My dad is a huge bow hunter. He was a champion bow shot back in the 70s. I actually have, so dig this, Sir John. I have 2 bows. from the 70s. They were made by a company called High Country. And like my dad was a professional bow guy. My dad had one of the first indoor bow shooting ranges. Um, my dad's kind of a famous dude, big fucking shoes to fill. But these two bows were some of the very first bows to ever go over 300 feet per second, which of course in today's 70% let off and all that kind of shit, like that's not a big deal. But in 1971 or whatever, like that was unheard of. That was unheard of. And then growing up in Alaska, like my dad did a lot of bow hunting, and when I was when I was super young, I had a 44 Magnum rifle. Um, and we would go out in the fucking woods in Alaska, and my dad would have a bow. My dad would have a bow, and I had a fucking, and I was the only one with a gun. And man, people thought we were fucking nuts. Because like a 44 Magnum is like, you know, not the number one choice for fucking bear or moose by any fucking standard. Um, and yeah, I've only hunted with a bow a few times, for just for basic fucking sport. But yeah, growing up in Alaska, I always fucking have been a rifle hunter, and I haven't shot I haven't shot my bow in a number of years now. And they've just passed the law, so like I can't remember. It's been a few years now, but there was a time where even during bow season, you could not carry a gun, right? At least like in the contiguous 48 states. Not all of them, but like, in Alaska, you can carry a fucking gun anywhere all the time. And, but like even here, if you go hiking out in the woods and you have a gun, people will like, fish and feather agents, fish and game guys will accuse you of, they'll accuse you of poaching. And they'll say, well, you can't be in the woods with a gun if it's not hunting season. And like, man, that's fucking bullshit. And, it's never been like that in like Alaska or Montana or Idaho and even down here up until a few years ago, you couldn't even go during archery season. You couldn't have a gun because to the law, that would prove that you're poaching with a gun during bow season. But they released some black bears in Alabama. Some people got fucking attacked. A couple people got mauled. And now you can carry a handgun while you bow hunt, which is, I mean, nobody wants to face down nobody wants to face down a fucking bear with nothing but a stick and a string. That is a fucking, like, I'm all about traditionalists. Like, motherfucker, I would rather have a fucking spear. I would rather have a fucking spear than a fucking bow and arrow if I had to fucking go up against any kind of bear. That reminds me of I think I've told this story. Gilster, if you're still here, have I ever told y'all about the bear spear story with Tony Jensen? Have I ever told? I used to do a lot of story times. Should I tell that story? I'll tell it now for the people that are here. Why not? I'm just killing time until this fucking heartburn goes away so I can lay down. Because I've gotten to that fucking age, man. You like get up in the middle of the night and you have to drink fucking baking soda mixed with water to fucking calm your shit down. Like, not cool. Not cool. Yeah, can't remember, but go right ahead. Okay, right on. So in the village, after my granddad died, I moved out of the cabin that was in the wilderness that was like 20 miles from the village, which is still a village in the middle of fucking nowhere, right? But so I was staying in the village, and I had a buddy who has since passed away. One of my dear friends, his name was Tony Jensen. We called him Higgins because he reads the books. But so there was this pretty impressive big boar, black bear, that was coming into the village. And he was coming to one part of the village. And like it started off with him just like tearing up people's smokehouses and fucking getting into shit. Then the fucker killed a couple dogs. And then a couple, like the old people were getting, they were like getting nervous because like nobody has a car. Everybody walks everywhere. And everybody wants to hang out at the bar and then walk back fucking a mile across this fucking, because the bar was up by the main road and then the village was really sparse, back to the railroad bridge. If you ever look at Google Earth, check out Nenana, Alaska, and you'll see what I'm talking about. But so I was hanging out with Tony. We were like drinking beer and doing things. And we seen the bear right under his fucking window. And by the time we got out there, like we made a bunch of noise and it was gone. And so the next day when it was daylight, this was like fall time. This was probably September. So it was like normal daylight darkness hours. And so the next day in the daylight, we went out there and we fucking back trailed this fucking bear. And we found the trail he was coming in on. And like we were like, man, let's get this fucking bear, right? And so I don't remember how old I was, but I was young and fucking full of fucking piss and vinegar. And I had this fucking boar spear by Cold Steel, which you can still buy today. It's like you buy it. I didn't make it, but I had this boar spear, and I had this fucking thick saddle leather armor that my buddy had made for me because I had always said, I'm gonna fucking go hunt some bears with a fucking spear, right? And so we back trailed this bear. We found a spot where there was a hill. It was a pretty big hill, and at the bottom there was a pretty big rut, like from people driving their four-wheelers, and it was muddy. Like people would spin out trying to go up this hill. So there was a nice deep fucking hole there, right? And so we got some old fucking moldy dried fish. We put it down this fucking trail, just a couple pieces. And then so whatever it was the next night or whenever, I gave Tony my 45 set. Tony Jensen was a Vietnam vet, and I can't remember what, but like whatever, 101st Airborne, whatever the fuck he was. But like he was a bad mamma jamma in his day, could fucking shoot. And on this hill, on the very top of this hill, there was a big willow tree. Our willows up there are like, they're real big and like bushy, And the bear was going to come from the woods, and then it goes up this hill, and then a little bit further it goes into this neighborhood. And I told Tony, I said, okay, take this fucking rifle. Moon was out. It's good night. I said, you take this rifle and you sit up here in this fucking willow tree. I'm going to get down in the fucking bottom of this hill in that fucking mud pit, and I'm going to lay down on my fucking stomach, and I'm going to have my spear, and when that fucking bear comes, I'm going to fucking juke him, right? I told Tony, I said, do not fucking shoot that bear until you hear me fucking screaming. I said, I will yell at you, fucking shoot. I said, but don't fucking shoot that bear, because I am going to fucking get him, right? So I'm down in this fucking thing. I had a snub nose 454 Casual. My buddy had made riveted like a little holster to this leather armor, which probably wouldn't have really stopped a fucking bear, but it made me feel better, right? And so I'm down in that fucking hole, and I got that spear is 8 feet long, and I have the back of it, there was like a root, and I had it jammed up against the fucking root, and I was laying on my stomach. And like traditionally, Athabascans used to hunt bears with a fucking spear, just like this. And you would have a root or a rock, or you'd have a hold for the back of the spear. And when the bear would come close enough, you would put it in his fucking chest. The spear has a cross piece Because without a cross piece, the bear's just going to run up the fucking spear and get you, right? And then you fucking have the back of the spear on the ground and you keep that fucker at bay and run it in him, you know? And so I'm laying in this fucking mud and it's fucking, I don't know how long it was, but it was like fucking all night to me, you know? And there's fucking mosquitoes and it's fucking cold and I'm in this fucking cold mud and I'm fucking waiting for this bear to come down this fucking trail. And like, I don't know if anybody's ever been in the woods when an animal shows up, but like there is a fucking aura, right? Like you fucking feel it. Like me just talking about it right now puts fucking goosebumps on me, right? And I'm sitting there and I fucking feel that feeling and I'm like, fuck, that motherfucker's coming, bro. And through the fucking darkness you can, so it's black fucking dark and it's like a black spruce forest. It's fucking pitch black. And you can see this fucking blue. Because for whatever reason, like a black bear, he shines like a blue color with the moonlight and shit. And I see this motherfucker and he's coming and he's fucking big and he's fucking rolling. You can see his fucking body. Every step he's like fucking boom, boom, and fucking shaking. And he's coming right at me, dude. And I can fucking see him. I can see his fucking face. I can see his fucking nose. And this fucker's I'm going, this is it. This is it. And I told myself, I said, one more step, and I got him. Because all I had to do was pick the fucking thing up like that. And he was right there. I said, one more fucking step. And that fucking bear, I shit you not, that motherfucker, he was kind of looking at the ground. He was looking around. And I told myself, one more fucking step. And that motherfucker picked his fucking foot up to take that one step. In my mind, he picked his fucking foot up and he fucking stopped. And he fucking looked to me. What's up? What's up, Boba Hicks? Good to see you. You're in the middle of a bear story. So he picked his fucking foot up and he fucking looked right at me. Now, I don't think that he saw me, but like he fucking looked right at me. Right? He looked right at me. And his foot was still up in the air. And that motherfucker, and I could see every fucking hair on him. I could see the fucking wetness of his nose and shit. He was right there, son. And that fucker had his foot up. And he fucking started weaving like this. And he fucking put his foot back down. He stepped back. Like instead of fucking, he fucking put his foot back down where it came from. And he fucking was doing this, and I thought, oh my God, that fucker sees me. He's about to fucking jump on me, you know? Now it's fucking perfectly still. And I was like shitting all over myself, though, right? Not literally, but like, moo, man. It was fucking. And that fucker, he put his fucking foot down, and he fucking took another step back, and he's doing this fucking, he's like looking. Like he was trying to find me, you know, because I think like he knew something was up. He fucking knew. And that fucker looked around like this. And he took a fucking step back and he went, woof. But he didn't do nothing. He just woofed at me. Then he took a couple other steps back. Then finally he took like 3 or 4 fucking steps back, man. The whole time he was fucking, looked like a boxer. Just fucking weaving. Not fast. But he was fucking looking like this. He backed up a few feet away. And that fucker started to turn. That fucker turned around, but he never stopped looking at me. He turned around. He took a couple fucking steps. And then he turned and he fucking took off. Fucking left. And that fucking bear, I shit you not, that fucking bear never fucking came back to that village. Nobody ever fucking saw that fucking bear again. And I fucking waited when he was gone. I fucking waited because a bear will double back. A bear will double back. I got to tell this story sometime too. But a bear will double back when it knows it's fucking something's up. It'll double back and fucking get you from behind. But I had fucking Tony up there. So I waited however long, at least fucking 20 minutes, because I wasn't just gonna get up and turn my fucking back. And I thought, he's fucking gone, you know? And I hear fucking Tony, he says that. He says, he's gone, he's gone. And I just slowly fucking got up, and I fucking had my spear, and I backed up and got up that fucking hill. And I said, did you see that fucking shit? He said, God damn it, Iron Will, I never fucking seen nothing like that, motherfucker. But like, you know, it was not successful. I didn't get him, all of that shit. But like, man, that was like one of the fucking wildest, most exhilarating fucking things that I was ever fucking a part of, man. And that I had an 8-foot spear, and that motherfucker was fucking one step from fucking getting it, and he went. He fucking looked at me. He's like, "What the fuck?" And like, whatever, man. I fucking stared him down, and he left. And like I said, that fucking bear, they have not had a fucking black bear come into that part of the fucking village since then. You know, like I've been gone a couple years, but yeah, man, that's my fucking bear spear story. And fucking Tony was just like, he's like, you're a fucking crazy motherfucker. And I have to tell you, Tony Jensen is one of the craziest motherfuckers I ever fucking met. And so I was really proud as like a fucking whatever, 17-year-old or however old I was, you know, like for Tony Jensen to fucking be impressed and say, you're a crazy motherfucker. Like, I was proud, man. But yeah, I stared that motherfucker down off the end of that fucking spear, and that fucking bear didn't want no fucking piece of that shit. That motherfucker, he fucking backed out of there and fucking took off, man. And so, like, I always considered it a fucking win in my fucking book, you know? And I had, you know, fucking Tony was back there. But, you know, I don't know if he could have fucking shot that bear if he was on top. You know what I mean? Like, I would have been in the line of sight, too. But made me more confident. I might not have ever done that sitting out there by my fucking self without a fucking Class A fucking Vietnam fucking sniper, whatever, fucking 30 yards behind me on a fucking hill, you know, with the fucking moonlight. But yeah, man, I stared that fucker down, and he didn't want no fucking part of this motherfucker. So, anyway, that's a fucking one of the highlights of my fucking young life, you know? I did a lot of fucking cool shit, but, you know, I feel like that's definitely in the top fucking 3 badass fucking things that I ever did, you know? It's a fun time. You definitely, you know, a lot of modern fucking day people, they don't even get the fucking chance to, do anything like that, you know? It's fucking, in a way, I think it's kind of sad, but yeah, bears can be fucking, dude, bears are fucking smart as fuck, you know, like, especially in the modern day, right? Like, even in Alaska, where people hunt all the time, like, that fucking bear, like, okay, you're an accomplished hunter, you've killed a lot of animals, you know, you stay out for weeks at a time, but like, you know, you don't hunt every day of the year and that kind of shit. Like, that fucking bear, that motherfucker hunts every fucking day that he's awake. He fucking hunts. And like, that motherfucker knows his shit. And so that's why you gotta watch them, like, double back. Dylan, if you're rewatching this, stop, because I'm supposed to tell Dylan this story when we're out hunting, but I'm gonna tell y'all this other story. So I had, they were really like my dad's friends. I think they were like business acquaintances of my dad, but like I knew these guys, and like their families would like come over to dinner and shit. These were like through church and business associates of my dad. But there were these 2 old guys, and I think they were just friends. I can't remember. I was pretty young when this happened, but they were out hunting grizzly bears, and one of them had a grandson, or who I didn't know real well. He wasn't like from there. Like I didn't go to school with him or nothing. I mean, I met him, but I didn't know who he was. But so the grandson shot this grizzly bear, and he made a poor shot on it, like a little bit too far behind the fucking shoulder in the guts, and the fucking grizzly bear ran off in the bush, in the thick bush. And the fucking grizzly bear is out there fucking dying from a fucking gut wound, you know? And if anybody's ever fucking hunted, you know, like I'm sure Sir John, if you've ever, you know, shot deer, sometimes, especially with a bow, like, you know, they don't necessarily die like right away. It's not like a fucking bullet to the fucking heart. But, you know, like listening to an animal dying is like, it's a, you know, it's fucking, it gets you. Well, these two old guys who's probably fucking killed 100 fucking bears between them in their lives, fucking old school Alaskan sourdoughs, know their shit, know better than to go fucking, you do not go in the fucking bush looking for a gut shot bear. You just don't go looking for them for like 2 days. Like, just stay the fuck away, let that motherfucker die, right? Well, they're out there with their grandson and like his mom and some other people, and everybody's listening to this bear going, you know, crying and fucking dying, which is a hard thing to listen to. No matter how macho you are, you know, like you're still a being, and if you hunt, you know, you respect animals, and you know, like when we take an animal, we always thank it for giving. It gave us its life so our family could survive, right? Like it's a fucking magical thing, which a lot of these fucking PETA people don't understand. But like a real hunter is very respectful, and it's a big deal to do it. And so these two old guys who know better, who knew what they were doing, my dad said it was just because they like, you know, those guys gotten old and you get soft, and there are people around looking at them. Well, they went in the fucking bush. Hey, magnificent kaboom! Good to see you. You're on our second bear story. This has happened to associates um, of mine. This is not a personal bear story. But rewind it later if you want to hear a fucking real talk, a real talk, boom, top shelf. Thank you, sir. If you want to hear some real talk bear story. But so anyway, these two old dudes, armed, fucking 375. I think one had a 375 H&H, which is a fucking great gun for bear. Other one I think probably had a 338 Win Mag. They go in the fucking bush. One in the fucking chamber, both of them ready. They know that they're fucking doing something they shouldn't be fucking doing. They're gonna go find this fucking bear. They're gonna put it out of its misery. And they're trailing the blood. And obviously at some point the fucking bear stops fucking moaning, because that fucking bear knew they were coming, right? Well, this bear, because my dad's friend Mike Kanicki is the one who found, by the end of the story, he's the one that fucking, you know, found him and all this. But so these guys who knew what they were fucking doing, fingers on the fucking trigger, shell in the fucking chamber, two of them, they go in the fucking, they're trailing this bear, and they're fucking looking for it. And this fucking bear, because that fucking bear hunts every fucking day it's awake. That fucking bear went out. The bear had laid down to die, which it probably would have died in the next, at least in the next day, you know, from sepsis, or liver shot, whatever it was. But the shot was too far back. Didn't, you know, not a clean kill. But this bear had got up from its bed where it was gonna lay to fucking die, and it fucking went out, and then we probably can't see my hand, but it left its area where it was gonna die, and it came back. It made a half circle back around on its own fucking blood trail, right? And these two dudes, who again, man, like they knew their fucking shit. These two motherfuckers, the bear backtracked, half circled, came back on his own fucking trail, Bear jumps out of the fucking bushes, killed them fucking both like that. And when fucking Kaneki found them, these motherfuckers didn't even get a shot off. 2 guys. Shells ahead. I think he fucking said like one of them got the safety off, but he could have had the safety off before he got there. 2 guys looking for the fucking bear, knowing it's fucking there, fucking got killed by this motherfucker. Neither one of them got a fucking shot. And like I said, that fucking bear went out, made a trail for him, double backed on his own fucking trail, got him from behind. And like, these fucking bears are fucking smart. People, like, and these fucking guys knew better. That was like the big sad thing about it. These fucking guys knew better. That fucking bear got them. Killed them both. Neither one of them got a shot. Neither fucking one of them got a shot. And then so like after a while when they didn't come back, of course like the mom and the kids, they're like, you gotta go get him. You gotta go get him. And like Kaneki and whoever was with him, they were like, no, like we're not going in there. Those guys, because this is the rule about Alaska, right? Like, if somebody's missing, they're either perfectly fine and they're getting their shit together and they're gonna make it back, or they're fucking already fucked. That's just like, and like the only time that was never the case is my brother Puff. He got in a snow machine accident. And, people went and looked for him. And if they hadn't have found him, he would have froze to death because he was fucked up from a snow machine wreck. But like, like you don't go off in the middle of the night trying to find somebody because you're going to get fucked up. And it just leads to more fucking dead people, which is, not going to fucking help anybody, right? But so like Kaneki and this other guy, they fucking waited till the next morning. And then they went in there and they found the fucking 2 guys fucking killed, fucking fingers on the fucking trigger, not a shot off. And then like whatever it was, like 80 yards down the fucking trail was the bear dead from the gut shot, died from fucking sepsis. And like those 2 guys, they all could have just fucking, instead of sitting there listening to the bear moan, they could have all just got their fucking shit, went back to the fucking camp, and fucking drank some coffee, went to fucking bed, and came back the next day, and that fucking bear would have been dead there, But they let that shit get to them, and they fucking wanted to go put the bear out of his fucking misery, And like, dude, and like even hunting deer or moose, and like if you're a bow hunter, John, I know you know this, but like you make that fucking shot, you need to, you gotta let that fucking animal go, even if it's a fucking heart shot. If that fucker runs, especially with a bow, right? Because there's no kinetic energy like from a fucking rifle that puts that fucker down. That's not necessarily the case with all bow shots, but a lot of them, if you pass through the ribs, you hit heart and lungs, the fucker's probably gonna run. It might only run 30 yards, but you need to let that fucker lay down and get calm and fucking die, and then you go out later and find him. Because if you, even like a white-tailed deer or a fucking caribou or a moose or whatever, if you shoot that fucker and he runs off and he lays down and he's not dead yet, and you go tromping through there to try to find him, that fucker will pump up with adrenaline and he will fucking take off, and that motherfucker might run a mile, and especially like a white-tailed deer or even a fucking elk and a moose, those motherfuckers might run a goddamn mile before they fucking die. And if you're in the case of a moose, that's a fucking 1,800-pound animal, like, shooting something that big, that far away from wherever you want it is like not a good idea, So, but yeah, man, those guys knew fucking better. And, that fucking bear killed them both. And like that was like a rude awakening for a lot of fucking people. Yeah. Yeah, rabbits. Yeah, I do a pretty good rabbit. I can fucking, in Alaska, it's not as easy because a lot of people like, wolves and coyotes and shit in Alaska are hunted a lot. And like down here, they're not. And so down here, man, if you can even do a half-ass rabbit call, then fucking coyotes are fucking coming, dude. They're pretty easy to call around here. The only other place that I hunted predators that wasn't easy is like Arizona, but it's because everybody does it. Like everybody, there's a lot of pressure. Um, and that's the thing, uh, even with bears, right? Like in Alaska, unless they're wounded or they're protecting a cache being an animal that they've killed and that they're eating, you know, if they're not wounded or protecting food or protecting their cubs, bears in Alaska are fairly, like, they don't really want anything to do with humans. You know what I mean? Like, bears in Alaska understand that they are generally not the fucking top of the food chain, right? But uh, when they fucking, I can't remember what year it was, like 2003 or some shit. I was down here, but I didn't really live here yet. But I was down here. My folks had moved here, and I was down here just like helping them with shit. But Alabama, the state of Alabama bought like 6 fucking black bears from Montana, and they cut them loose in Alabama. And like still to this day, like you're not allowed to hunt bears around here. You can't, and they're black bears, but like you can't hunt them. You're not supposed to fuck with them. You're not supposed to do anything, right? Well, the thing is now, 20 fucking years later, is that these fucking bears around here have zero fear of humans. They've never been fucking shot at. They've never been hunted. If they smell a fucking human, they don't have no. In Alaska, if a fucking bear smells you, they go, "Oh fuck, there's a hunter. We better leave," you know. But here, these motherfuckers have zero fucking fear, and like people are starting to get fucking mauled, and bears are starting to fucking like they bears here think they're the top of the fucking food chain, and they're protected by law. So there's no, nobody's hunting them, nobody's harassing them, nobody's fucking shooting them in the ass with fucking rock salt. Like nothing like that goes on here. And the fucking bears are fucking getting out of fucking control here. And like I hunted in this one place in Alabama where the bears and the coyotes were pretty bad too. But like if you wanted to see a bear, you go out in the fucking woods and fucking shoot your gun. Just fucking shoot it. And the fucking bears, they got to where they hear a gunshot and they know that there's like a dead deer on the ground. And so you could literally shoot your fucking gun, wait around, and a fucking bear would show up going, "Oh, okay, I heard that. I know that there's," like, they associated gunshots with a fucking dinner bell. And like, if you wanted to you want to see a fucking bear out here, fucking shoot your gun. Whereas like in Alaska, fucking bear, it smells a person, hears a gunshot, that motherfucker's gone. Because he knows, he's like, "Oh, that could be my fucking ass." And here, they do not have that fucking fear here. And it's like, I don't know at what point somebody is gonna fucking say, "Hey, maybe we should have a fucking bear season." I don't know at what point they're gonna do that. There's a lot of anti-hunters, which it's interesting how there's so many. It's not on everything, but like mostly people who are like anti something, it's something that they've never done. You know what I mean? Whereas like like you think of like Vietnam veterans who came back from Vietnam and was like, "Hey man, what we're doing over there is wrong and I don't believe in war." And you think, okay, well that has validity because the guy just fucking came from there, right? Like it means a little bit more than somebody who's never fucking done it, right? But like hunting especially, like, people who are anti it, like they have no fucking concept and they don't go out in the fucking woods, like they don't do anything. They have no understanding, And like in Pennsylvania, and I know it's happening in Ohio and a couple other places, but like, they were really against, like in the late 90s, early 2000s, up until probably the 2010s, like there was an influx of anti-hunters and shit, and like they shut down like deer hunting, and they're like, "No, you can't shoot deer," or they're like, "Oh, you can't," like shooting does was like this big thing. A doe is a female deer, right? Like A lot of people fucking watch Bambi, and the people who don't hunt, they're like, oh, you can't shoot mama deer and all this kind of shit. And so they wouldn't let them in a lot of places, right? And then you get an overpopulation, and then they get diseases, and then they have a mass die off. And like anybody who's taken animal husbandry or any fucking fish and game biologist will tell you, if anything, you need to shoot a fuck ton of female deer, right? Because like the thing that makes the herd strong, right? What makes a strong, healthy, and also, for lack of a better term, like powerful trophy animals. Like I've worked on some private places that were high fenced, where like it was thousands of acres, so they weren't like tame deer in a fence, but like they had their own herd. And to manage that herd, like you need to kill enough females to make the males fight for dominance, right? And then when the males fight for the right to mate, that's how you get good offspring. The biggest and the strongest who kicked everybody's ass make the fucking babies for the next generation, right? But like chronic wasting disease and all of this fucking crazy shit that we see now, like that comes from a people not understanding how you manage a fucking herd, right? And so when you have too many females, then all the males get a piece of pussy, right? Even the subpar males who don't earn it, and then you fucking get like small, scraggly. You get deer with no antlers. You get ones that have diseases because you're not, the strongest ones aren't surviving and spreading on their strong genes. And like, man, and like a lot of people don't want to fucking hear that shit because it goes against fucking, whatever, the Disney fucking Bambi movie. But like, that's how it is, man. And it's interesting that, you know, um, any scientist or fucking game management person, like that's the fucking truth of it. It has nothing to do with your feelings about killing you killed Bambi's mom. And like, dude, you've got to fucking thin those out. It's just weird. In Alaska there, we had a governor, Tony Knowles, and he, for a long time, because we had like there's a lot of hippies in Alaska, which is cool. But there were like city hippies who don't hunt, and like they shut down the wolf control, because like in Alaska, like Fish and Game will get in a fucking helicopter and they will go out there and they will fucking mow down some wolves, right? And like the first people that have a problem are natives, right? They say, hey, there's no fucking caribou, there's no fucking moose, there's no rabbits. We can't have any food because the fucking wolf population is massive, right? And there was a long time when, like there was a lot of city people who voted, and they're like, well, we're not going to kill the wolves. And Tony Knowles was like the first modern governor who was like, look, fuckers, if Fish and Game tells me there's 80,000 fucking wolves and we should only have 20 because they've killed all the moose babies and all the caribou babies and all the muskox babies, and there's no fucking moose because of it. Like in the early 90s, I fucking lived there. I was around there, and like we saw that, like fucking for years, like everyone would go hunting, and like everybody's like, did you see a moose? I was like, no, I didn't even fucking see one. And like, because the wolves fucking killed them all. And then Tony Knowles, he grew some fucking balls, and he said, I don't care what the majority of you fucking people who vote think, what you think about killing wolves. I know, and Fish and Game is telling me, and the subsistence, whether they're native or white, because you can be whatever, these people can't eat. And so he reinstated the hunting of fucking wolves from fucking helicopters. And he got all that fucking shit straightened, and like that's why there's no fucking wolves in England, and there's no fucking, in the old world, that's why there are no fucking predators, right? Because they fucking killed them all. They killed them fucking all, right? That's why they don't have any. And America's one of the few places that, was discovered late enough, and the United States is young enough that they were able to implement some modern science to say, okay, well, this year, because the laws will change, whether it's deer or anything, right? And even in Alaska, like, you used to not be able to shoot a cow moose. Cow moose is a female. A doe is a deer, right? A lot of people don't know that, but moose are bulls and cows, and deer are does and bucks. And elk, I believe, yeah, elk are bull and cow also, just for so people know. But they have different names than deers, right? For male and female. But like when I was young, you couldn't shoot a fucking female moose. And then later on, the population got big enough and they'd say, okay, well, you know what? In section 15, we're going to give out 2,200 cow tags because there are too fucking many. And they fucking get all that. They fucking fill the tags and they get the fucking population down because you have an overpopulation of a certain animal. They're going to go through all of their food and then they get diseases and they have a massive fucking die-off. Then they all die. And then it takes forever to get any kind of population back. So, there's a lot of, and Africa, a lot of people are against African hunting for whatever their moral reason is. But, the African governments, even like the most corrupt ones, fucking big game hunting is like hey, good to see you, Sir John. We're just talking hunting and shit now. It's good to see you, my friend. Thank you for being there. Yeah, it'll happen when a politician well, maybe if we can get a politician that goes hunting in the woods. A lot of guys around here, man, they sit in a big heated box stand over a food plot, like there's not like a whole lot of danger that they're in. They twist their ankle, walking up the ladder, some bullshit. But yeah, African hunting. I used to build safari rifles, and I've not been to Africa yet. It was, man, when I was a kid, I read all the fucking Peter Hathaway Capstick and William Bell, and like, dude, those were like, when I was a kid, those were like my fucking heroes, other than like John Wayne and Doc Holliday and, fucking people like that. And then you have, and like, all the famous native chiefs, fucking Sitting Bull and Geronimo and shit. But like, dude, fucking Capstick. I don't know if y'all have ever read Capstick books, but like, talk about one of the most modern fucking badass motherfuckers on the fucking planet. Highly recommend Death in the Long Grass, on the Dark Continent, and but anyway, yeah, African hunting is a lot of those countries' only source of outside income. And they take their fucking shit really fucking serious. And it's a lot of money that people spend. And a whole fuck ton of that money goes back into the preservation and the longevity of the animals and the health of them so they can continue to harvest them. It's a product. And, for anybody to think that it's not a product and that it's not something that's seriously looked at scientifically to keep the product available, then, it's like they just don't know. They just don't fucking understand how it works. There was I used to build me and my dad used to build safari rifles and long range tactical rifles and a lot of other custom stuff, but that was like our bread and butter. And we were at a Dallas Safari Club show once selling our stuff, and they were auctioning off a black rhino hunt, and that fucking got out to the normal mainstream public, right? And fucking people were protesting, and it was this fucking, because like black rhinos were like fucking almost extinct and all that, da, 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 da. But what people didn't realize is, so there was like one, and they might not have any of them. There's two different kinds of black rhino. One is gone, and the other one they're still trying to fucking save. But so there's like one area in Africa, I can't remember what country it's in, but they had like whatever. They had like 27 fucking black rhino. And there was only one for a long time that was a male of breeding age, right? And because like for years they kept breeding him with these females, but they like kept getting females and they kept getting females. They finally got a couple males, but this one dominant, the he bull of the fucking herd, he got to where he was fucking killing all the younger male rhino because like that's what fucking animals do, bro. Right? Well, it got to where the black rhino bull, the old one, he was killing the young males, but he had gotten so old that he couldn't really breed anymore, right? So there was an issue that now their herd that they're trying to fucking populate back is not growing because every fucking male rhino that he would every son that this rhino would have, once they got old enough to become a threat to his hierarchy, he would fucking kill them, right? So the scientists they said, look, we got to get rid of this motherfucker. We gotta, and so they like bred like four males. They removed them from the herd so he wouldn't kill them, and like they weren't sure what to do. And finally, somebody said, hey, why don't we fucking auction off the right to kill? Because they thought, well, we're just gonna kill this guy, right? They're just gonna kill him because he's a problem. But somebody rightfully and smartly said, hey, we could auction off the fucking right to kill this guy and fucking make the whole program hundreds of thousands of dollars. And like, I think they fucking sold that hunt for like whatever, $350,000. So some rich fucking crazy motherfucker paid $350,000 at a bid. It might even have been like 425. I don't remember. I'm sure it's easy to look up because they have not shot one since. This would have been like the mid 20 teens or something. And but yeah, they auctioned off the game preserve, the scientists who are in control of all this. They auctioned off the right to kill this rhino that they were gonna fucking have to get rid of one way or another anyway. And so they made fucking $300,000+ for the for the business of keeping this fucking project of repopulating the African fucking safari with this fucking breed of fucking rhino. And like all the people that wanted to protest and all the people that like they didn't even fucking stand that, right? Like they did not understand that this guy, all the funds that were going to hunt this guy, this rhino, that was otherwise going to be basically fucking put in a cage and fucking bolt gunned because he was useless, right? He was killing all the young males, but he was too old. His pecker didn't fucking work, right? So he wasn't making anything else. And so yeah, they sold the fucking right to shoot that fucking thing. And the guy went off and shot it, and then he was, of course, fucking admonished by all of society that has no fucking idea how that shit fucking works, right? Like, just like hunting licenses and the Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation and the Safari Club and what's the fucking Ducks Unlimited, right? Like, people don't realize, but that's all the fucking funding. All of that fucking money goes to conservation, right? Teddy Roosevelt, huge fucking sportsman, fucking great fucking president, fucking, right? Spanish American War, fucking veteran, San Juan Hill, huge fucking hunter. Like, he's the one who fucking started and implemented all of these fucking national parks that we fucking go to, that we fucking enjoy. Fucking Yellowstone and the Badlands and fucking Grand Teton and all that shit. All started by a hunter who was a conservationist because he wanted his kids to be able to see elk and buffalo and fucking bears and all that fucking shit. And like, it's just strange that, and like, this is as, I guess, as political as I'll fucking get on this channel, but it's just like, there's a lot of people who are really militant about being anti something, but they really don't understand how it fucking works. And, like all of these, all of these vegans out there, like, they're not fucking contributing to the fucking continuation of wildlife species to be taken care of and managed in this fucking country, right? Because all the organizations that do that are hunting organizations, right? Hunters for the Hungry, Ducks Unlimited, Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation, Safari Club International, fucking Dallas Safari Club, Las Vegas Safari Club. Like, these are the fucking people who make this fucking shit happen, right? And buying your fucking hunting licenses and your duck stamps and your permits, that's where that fucking money goes. And so I have and like I said before, I guided, like, I was raised fucking hunting, and like all I ever, man, when I was a kid and like in school, like in the white man's world, for lack of a better term, like, when the teachers and people would be like, what do you want to be when you grow up? And people would say, oh, I want to be a whatever. I want to be an astronaut. I want to be a doctor. I want to be the president. I want to be a pro football player. Like, all Lak ever wanted to fucking do was live in the fucking woods, man. Like my granddad. I want to live in the fucking woods, live off the land, and be one with the fucking earth. Like, that's all I ever fucking wanted. And when I got older, part of the way to, because, like, let's face it, you have to do something. Like, I don't, like, my granddad got a native check every month because he was fucking enough quantum to do that, and like, I'm not. It's been fucking, it's bred out of me. I don't, but I was raised like that. And so you gotta have some kind of fucking money to live in the fucking modern world. But so I started guiding, and like, motherfucker, I was good at it because I was raised like that. Raised by all my fucking native uncles and granddad and grandmother and just everybody. That's how they all grew up living. When there wasn't even there wasn't even much of a necessity to make money, right? Like, whatever, you go sell some fucking wolf hides to buy some flour and some coffee and some fucking cartridges. But like, their fucking parents, whatever, like, they didn't even have to do that, right? Like, they fucking had, like, Alaska natives are like the last people in the North American continent to come out of the Stone Age, right? Like, people don't realize that. The Russians discovered Alaska, and they stayed on the coast, but like interior Alaska, like, I knew fucking old, when I was young, 5 or 6, there were guys that were like 80, 90 years old, and like, they could tell you about the first, all right, zombie, take care, brother. They could tell you about like the first white man they ever saw. They could tell you about the first boat motor they ever saw. They could tell you about the first gun that they ever saw when they were kids. And like, and their dads, like their dads and granddads, they fucking hunted with spears. Shit that they made from the woods. They had fucking stone fucking tools and shit. Because by the time Western society made it to Alaska, like, dude, it was fucking late it was late in the fucking, in the time frame of modern time. I don't know if I'm saying that right, but you know what I mean? Like, my first wife's dad, so my first wife was born in 1957. Her dad was born in 1860 something. I can't remember now. But yeah, like, and her dad was, no, her granddad, I'm sorry, I'm way off on that. Her granddad was born in 1863 or 4, like during the American Civil War. And he lived to whatever year, like 8 to like 1960 something. Like, he was around from the American Civil War, when there was no fucking white people in Alaska. except there were some Russians on the coast, but he was from the interior, right? And he lived all through until Kennedy was assassinated, right? And when he died, he didn't even die of like old age. He was walking back from the bar, slipped on the ice, and busted his head open. Which you can fucking do that when you're 20. Like that wasn't like a, like he didn't die from being an old guy, you know? But like, dude, in Alaska, you're not super far removed from the ancient world. You know, now I'm fucking almost 40, and you know, the old dudes that raised me most of my life, most of them are fucking dead now. But like, they were literally like the first generation. You know, they're like you think of like Vietnam veterans, you know, between Korean and Vietnam War veterans, they were basically the first generation of Alaska Natives to be raised in modern society with fucking trains and steamships and paddle wheels and fucking, like, that was all fucking new. And when their dads were fucking young, dude, there was nothing. People still had fucking stone axes and shit. Yeah, man. Yeah, interior Alaskan natives were the last group of North American people to come out of the Stone Age. You know? And like they've been out of the Stone Age basically less time than America's been a country. You know, because the interior of Alaska didn't really get opened up till, you know, really the late 1880s were some of the first explorers in there, but they just touched a really small part of it, you know, like a super small part. And it wasn't really until the 1890s where there was enough industrial, industrious Westerners building steam-powered paddle boats and different stuff like that where they could maneuver around. Like that's why there's no reservations in Alaska, right? Like no U.S. Army showed up and said, "Oh, hey, there's fucking gold here. Let's move out all these fuckers." You know, like they never fucking did that there because it was too goddamn hard to fucking get there, right? There's too fucking hard. So it's a different fucking group of fucking people, man. Totally crazy. My one friend, we called him Bubblegum. He's probably late 60s, and I think he's still alive. And I knew his parents, um, Gilbert and Edna Ketzler, and they were old time. I mean, they were fucking old timers. You know, born in like the fucking 30s, late 20s, mid 30s, and you know, they fucking went everywhere on dog sleds and all that kind of stuff, and fucking hunted with fucking muzzle loaders from the old days. Um, you know, and like old man Ketzler would like to, you know, like the first time he ever saw a gun that shot a cartridge, you know, it was like an 1899 Savage lever gun. And like that fucking blew his mind, you know? Um, and that's not that long ago. Like he grew up living, you know, even being born in the 1920s, he grew up like somebody in the rest of America who was born in the fucking 18 fucking 20s. That's really a crazy thing, but my buddy Bubblegum, his name was Robert Ketzler. We call him Bubblegum. I don't know why they called him Bubblegum before I was born, but that's what they call him. But he had an uncle who had long since died, but in like 1968 or something, he was considered one of the last natives that came in from the bush, right? Because like the village I grew up in, it never, like everybody up there traditionally is nomadic, right? But a couple times of the year, Ninana is Athabascan and it means good place to camp between two rivers. Now, how you get that many words from Ninana, I don't really know, but that's what it means. And Ninana is the confluence of the Tanana River and the Ninana River, you know. and it's between the two rivers. And in the old days, all the natives would come from both rivers, and they would come up. There's a mountain range that comes down, and on like the Nenana River comes from the south to the north, which also is very interesting. A lot of people in America, in the contiguous 48 states, right? Like most rivers run north to south. In Alaska, we got a couple that run south to north. So let that fucking sink into your shit. Um, but all the different tribes, they would either come down one of the rivers, and then there was a range of mountains, which are more like the Appalachian Mountains. They're not like huge. And they would walk cross country, but they would all meet there and they would trade. And then, of course, when the white man showed up, that was because the confluence of two rivers, everything was done on steam wheelers and stuff. It became a more permanent area, you know. And then Nenana, they built so Anchorage, we'll get to the map of Alaska right here. Whoop. So Anchorage is down here, which is easy to get to by boat from like Seattle and stuff, right? And then the Alaska Highway over here from Canada, which they had a road this way, like a Hudson Bay Road, to Fairbanks. Here, Fairbanks is in the middle. I'm trying to get this right. I'm doing it backwards on the thing. So they built a railroad from Canada through here to Fairbanks and then to Nenana. And then they built a railroad from Anchorage up to Nenana. And the Tanana River, they didn't build, I can't remember the year now. What was it, like 27? Maybe 27, 24? I don't know. Somebody can look that up if there's anybody actually still here in the chat. But, all right, take care, Gilster. Love you, brother. But Warren Harding came and drove the Golden Spike on the railroad in Nenana, and the railroad bridge, which is still there, it was the longest single-span bridge of its type in the it may not be the world, but at least in like the North American continent. It was like a big historical thing, and it was a big engineering feat of the modern time, right? And up until they finished that bridge, they would just have the railroad come from one side of the river and stop, and then the railroad come from the other side of the river and stop, and then everything would get loaded on barges and go down the rivers to the different villages and stuff. And in the wintertime, when the river would freeze, they would build a temporary railroad track across the ice. And that was the only time when the railroad could run the whole route, you know. But anyway, it became like Nenana, Alaska, at one time was the biggest populated town in Alaska. That was like during the 1890s, and it was like 100,000, you know. And like there's photos of it. It's this huge expanse area of tents and little skid houses and all kinds of stuff, you know. But like it's a real big historical kind of a place, and it's only like that to Alaskans and people who kind of know the history of everything. But anyway, my friend Bubblegum, his uncle, I totally got off on other shit, but his uncle, like in the late 60s, he was the last indigenous person who came from the wilderness to stay in Nenana. And like Bubblegum always said, it was because like he never went. And then he went and fucking like, you know, he didn't even drink alcohol till he was like 35 or some shit. And then he kind of like became a drunk, and then he was coming to town all the time. And then he decided, well, I'm going to move to town. You know, but like, man, up until the late 60s, like there were people still living in the wilderness with dog teams and no boats except canoes and stuff, no motors, living the way that, you know, we had lived for thousands of fucking years, basically, you know. Except with the advent of like, you know, certain modern things, whatever, you know, you buy a fucking Swede saw, you know, fucking instead of having a spear, you get a muzzle loader, and then at some point, you know, the fucking white man brings, oh, look at this, shoots, it has cartridges. You go, oh my god. And the interesting thing about that was like a lot of the first cartridge guns that made it to Alaska, they were like 30-30s, 300 Savages. 300 Savages is super. It's not very popular anymore, but it's a great round. And the thing is that before that, people were hunting with muzzle loaders, right? And like a 50 caliber muzzle loader with 100 grains of powder, way more powerful than like a 300 Savage. So even at that time when you could buy or procure in some way a modern rifle, it wasn't as powerful as some of the older black powder shit. And so there were people that continued to hunt with 50 caliber Hawk and percussion cap rifles, you know, um, because a 50 caliber, a fucking 425 grain lead ball, 50 caliber from a Hawk and muzzleloader with 100 grains of black powder, like motherfucker, that'll turn a moose or a bear inside fucking out, with good shot placement and all that. But like that motherfucker, that'll drop them like a fucking ton of shit. They're like you hit them in the fucking head with a goddamn hammer. They fucking, boop, they're out, lights out. My granddad, all names they say done cluck. And that's the sound. Done cluck. Down he went. That's how they all always talk with your hands. Fucking over here and over there. And I pulled up, I said, done cluck. He was down. But 300 Savage is basically ballistically equivalent to a 308, except that a 300 Savage operates at like 37,000 psi, and a 308, the 308 goes about 250 feet per second faster with the same grain bullet, but it generates 68,000 psi. And so like I said, I used to fucking build guns. I've always been a ballistician and a hunter, and I've always fucking studied wound cavities, and that's always been my thing, man. Like that's always been my fucking thing. But like in the invent of modern calibers, like a 308 came around in like 57, but a 300 Savage had been around since whatever 1899 or something like that. That's fucking old. It's an older cartridge. What's up, Ricardo? Good to see you, my friend. We're just telling stories, and you missed some good fucking bear hunting stories, Ricardo. But I appreciate you being here, my friend. Good to see you. I hope you are doing well, amigo. Caballero. My buddy Ricardo. Good to see you, sir. We're just now getting into a conversation about the firearm industry inventing new calibers, but the point that I was making was that a lot of these calibers are really clones of older things, and ballistically they don't give you too much advantage. They don't give you a whole lot of advantage, but the industry has to keep inventing new stuff to sell because we all have our granddad's guns, and we all have our and like you can obviously back in the day when moose and bear and everything were much more prevalent and much bigger, right? And much more wild even than they are now. Like our forefathers fucking dropped them with fucking 30-30s and 300 Savages and muzzle loaders. And so, for a industry to stay alive, they have to invent. Yeah, cool. I think you'll enjoy it, especially this later half. We were talking about Star Wars and different shit, and then because I don't know, because that's what my channel's supposed to be about. But it always divulges into hunting and Alaska and fucking guns and the shit that I'm really fucking into. Oh yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah. Oh good. I'm glad you got a nap. I should be sleeping myself, but I've been suffering from some super fucking heartburn. And I know better than to fucking, oh hey zombie. Okay, back. I know better than to fucking lay down when I feel like this, But yeah, there's quite a few And I always, like I said, the 300 Savage is about 250 feet per second slower than a 308. But the 300 Savage operates at like 37,000 psi. And when the 308 came out, it was supposed to be, they're like, oh, it's this new hot thing. It's the greatest thing on the fucking, it's amazing. It blows the fucking doors off of everything you've ever heard of. Well, when you really get down to the ballistics, it shoots about 200 feet per second faster, but it operates at 68,000 psi instead of 30,000 psi. And the first thing that does is you say, okay, well, there's an entire group of firearms, older firearms, that you cannot rechamber and rebarrel into a 300 or into a 308 because these guns were never fucking made to handle that kind of pressure, you know? And so it reinvents the whole thing just to have a product to sell. You know what I mean? And like one of the newest, it's not super new now, but like this, so the 6.5, there's a 6.5 Creedmoor, 6.5 Grindel. There's like a couple more 6.5 by 284, Nosler, Magnum. In the last few years, the industry has discovered the 6.5 diameter bullet, which a 6.5 millimeter is, I want to say 26 caliber. I think it's 20. It's about that, right? 6.5 is about 26 caliber. 264. I think 264 would be the diameter of it in thousandths of an inch, right? But like, there's all these people out here who have like rediscovered this. Oh, the 6.5. It has a much higher ballistic coefficient than any other kind of bullet, and wow, this is so amazing. And like, dude, there's a thing called a 6.5 by 55 Swede, and like that the Swedish Army has been using that. They don't use it anymore, but like that's been around since fucking whatever 1898, you know, and it's always been hailed as one of the most accurate fucking just tack driving calibers, and it's a 6.5. And then in the 50s there is a and I have one that my dad built. I need to get a fucking scope for it. But Winchester made a caliber called the 264 Winchester Magnum, and it's a fucking 264. That's a 6.5. It's a 26 caliber, and and it's I can't remember the parent. The case I think is like a 300 Win Mag. I think so. It's a 300 Win Mag, neck down to 264, and it's a fucking barn burner, bro. It's like whatever it is. It's like fucking 3,000 feet per fucking second or something, right? Like it is the fucking hottest. It's a badass fucker, right? Well, it never super became popular, but the few people who used it, like it was just, it's an unreal caliber. And like my dad hunted with one. It's actually the caliber that made my dad stop gun hunting because it became so fucking easy. And that's when he really, you know, because he always did bow competitions and he hunted with his bow, you know, but he always knocked down deer for meat and shit. But, you know, like one year in the fucking early 60s, like he shot 12 times and killed 12 deer. And like some of them were fucking, you know, whatever, 300 to 600 yards. And it was just so incredibly easy that he just gave up gun hunting until he moved to Alaska, which even then he bow hunted for quite a few years, you know, until there was like a run-in with a bear, and you know everybody's realizing like, hey, like bow and arrow not the fucking optimum fucking weapon if you're dealing with fucking grizzly bears, 2,000-pound fucking grizzly bears. Oh yeah, hey man, I appreciate that, Ricardo. No rush. Me and Gilst, I was talking to Gilster earlier, and I've had a fucking package here for like 3 months for Gilster. And I sent it off today, and I was like, Gilster, I finally got your thing out. And he's like, oh, I'm working on yours too. And I told him, I was like, there's no rush. And if there's one thing that all of us in the community have in common, is it takes us a long time to fucking send a package. And so it's totally fucking cool, Ricardo. But yeah, whatever Mexican heart, because I've been fucking like having to get up in the middle of the night and do like the old school fucking baking soda in the water thing. And like, I mean, it works, but my buddy Dylan was telling me that that's super bad for you. But I do it because like the Tums are really bad for you. And my buddy Dylan told me that if you have heartburn, drink some apple cider vinegar, because the problem is that your stomach is not acidic enough to be digesting your food, and that's why you get the heartburn. And I tried it once, and it was just, and like I drink a little apple cider vinegar anyway for like the health reasons, but like, man, when you have fucking heartburn and you drink some, like, it did not feel good. So I went back to my baking soda. So I don't know what the answer is. So, but yeah, I appreciate you, Ricardo. But yeah, we were laughing about it does take a lot of us in the community a while. Fuck, it took Rum like 2 years to get some packages out. So no one, I don't think anyone in the community, I think everybody in the community is on the same page about that, because there's a lot of us that's like, I got a box for you. And like, there it fucking sits, you know. But so I love you, brother, and I appreciate it. But yeah, definitely go back and, you know, if you're up for 2 hours and 51 minutes, go check out we went through a lot of stuff. You missed a couple good bear stories. So, but we need to get back into doing some story times. But yeah, it's good times. I might have run out of things to say. I can feel the fading come on. I've gotten to age. Has anybody else gotten to the age? Ricardo, I know that you have trouble sleeping, so this may not apply to you, but I've gotten to the age where, like, if I'm up too late, I start to feel sick. Like, you know what I mean? Like, your throat gets sore, and you get and you're like, oh, I'm getting sick. And so, like, I've almost fucking reached that. So we might take off. But hey, Ricardo, so I don't know if you saw Gary sent me a box for Christmas, and you have to watch that video because there's some other things here that I'm not going to show on this live stream. But he did find Brutus. Excuse me. He did find me a Brutus. So we opened that up, and we promptly took off. He had these like skirt pieces that I found. I didn't like them, so I took those off. So now and we took this vest off too, but it made his neck look kind of long and gangly without the vest, so I put that back on. But yeah, that's cool. So anyway, I really appreciate everybody. Zombie says, "Nah, I'm not that old yet, Lak." Man, I don't know. There's just like, I remember when I was like, I can't remember. Now I can't remember what age it was, but there was like mid to late 20s, and like I went to pick something up, and it's like something that I always could pick, you know, and I went, oh, what is that? And it was just like one of those times when you realize like I'm not saying I'm old, but I'm just saying like you go, oh, I'm not fucking 16 anymore. Like that's actually not easy to do. You go, oh, fuck, you know? And like there's some dance moves and some like trick fucking that I can't do as well as I used to. So whatever, it happens, I guess. My hair's a fucking mess. I gotta fix that. So anyway, I'm glad everybody was here. Ricardo, I hate to take off since you just got here, but you can always go back. I'm pointing to you can't see it. There's a timer right here. So you got almost 3 hours of entertainment coming your way. The past 4 days I hadn't slept until, well, I'm glad you got some rest. So, But if you're up for a while, just go ahead and rewatch this if you want to. I think I'm at my fucking limit. No 6 hours tonight, you guys. Sorry about that. But anyway, nothing but love and respect for everybody in the community. Merry Christmas. I will not say Happy Holidays. Sorry. No, I'm not sorry. I'm not sorry. Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas. But anyway, so look, I love you guys. Take care of one another. If I may take a line from G-Force, be nice to each other out there. And your grails are out there. Go get them. Appreciate that. You too. You, Ricardo. And whoever the other two people are here lurking, I'm glad you're here. I appreciate you guys, all right? So I've been General Lak Chat. I will continue to be. I got some cool things from Gary that you haven't seen unless you watch that unboxing video, and we will do reviews on those. So look for those in the next couple days. I'm going to get the Cubs this weekend, so I'll be sparse on the streams. But anyway, I love everybody out there, all right? Take care. All right, see you on Down the Trail.